Good morning, everybody. My name is Rich Astoni with Raging Sanity Consultants, and we're going to talk a little bit today about CRM projects for your small business, how to keep moving forward when they just want to go sideways, or in some cases, completely pear-shaped. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do, dispel some misconceptions about technology, explain some benefits of CRM when it's done properly, and look at some reasons why CRM can go sideways. This is going to be a modified version of the longer lecture, so we're only going to look at some of the ones that, especially in small businesses, we might encounter, and then look at a strategy for success. Really quick, I have a very strange background. I started taking college classes at the age of 12. Those included computer programming. That's not to show off, that's just to make the point that I've been a technology geek ever since I was a little kid. But I've also spent 5 years in the Marines working in intelligence, and that's where I caught a culture and language bug. And partly as a result of that, I spent 3 years doing volunteer work after the Marines as well. In the late 90s, I started a consulting firm using some software called Goldmine. Anybody ever use that? Pretty good stuff, wasn't it? That for the price per seat, that was powerful what you could do with it. And I fell in love with it because of my background in technology and seeing what I could do with it. And I also did a lot of volunteering with international students at the time. Actually, my whole purpose for starting my business is I wanted to free myself up to have more time to do volunteer work with internationals. And I thought, hey, a small business would be a great way to have lots of money and lots of free time. Yeah, you guys, that was a very silly thought. But it was a great education, great education. So I tell folks, if you want to learn business, don't go to business school, start a business. Because if you're going to survive, you will become a student, and you will become a good student if you're going to survive. That one didn't survive, but 9/11 had a lot to do with that. That really sucked the air out of the consulting world. There were some great companies that I considered to be mentors of mine, who I used to get a lot of subcontract work from, who went out of business, and I held on as long as I could. And then after a while, it just didn't make sense, so I came back to Arizona where I get some family, and I said, I'm going to finish what I started when I was a kid and finally get a degree. So I went to school, got a master's in liberal studies, not business. Why not business? Because again, I think that's one of those things that's best learned by doing. But there's some other things that are great to learn in school. I love the liberal arts, and I taught philosophy, humanities, and film for about 4 years in the Maricopa system. Did a little bit of stuff at ASU as well. Raging Sanity Consultants, we specialize in cloud-based software solutions. There's a good reason for that. I might mention that in a little bit, why we focus on that rather than out of the box. Established in 2015, and collectively we got decades of experience. This is Hiro, who's here with me, Wendy, and Mike. The platforms that we focus on, and there might be more in the future. I'm trying to be careful that I don't diffuse my talents too much, because it takes a lot of time to learn these things sufficiently so that you can provide value to people. And we spend a lot of time learning how to use these things and use them well, because if we're supposed to be the experts, well, you don't just become one overnight. It takes a lot of study. So I have 3 certifications in Salesforce, 3 in RingCentral. Hiro has 3 in RingCentral. Gone through the Zendesk training, and LionDesk does not have a training program, but I spent a lot of time with that. Salesforce, you've probably heard of that. That's a great cloud-based CRM system. Might be a little tight to get in for smaller businesses, but they do have a small business platform that will start you off. It doesn't have all the automation features that we would like it to have, but if you're pretty sure that you're going to grow and you know the power of Salesforce, that's a good place to start. RingCentral is an IP telephony system, so if you want voice over IP, I could talk for a long time about all the great things this system can do as far as an automated attendant. If you have reps in your business who work from home, they're on your same phone network, so you transfer to them like you would as if they were in the office. Video conferencing, file sharing, all that good stuff. Zendesk is a customer support system that's easier to get into than the higher-end Salesforce platform, which is called Support Cloud. And LionDesk is a tool that I heard a lot of great stuff from realtors, and some mortgage brokers also use that. And so I'm actually doing an implementation for a realtor right now involving LionDesk. All right, getting into it. First of all, I want to say, in spite of what you hear from people like me who want to sell you technology, we have to avoid the mindset that technology is a silver bullet, because it absolutely is not the silver bullet that people who want to sell you stuff will make you think it is. You say, oh, if I just get this, it will solve all my problems. And how often have you bought it and then not actually used it? Happens a lot, right? You've done it. I've done it. The key here, and anybody who's done sales training will back me up on this, processes are more important than your technology. Absolutely. You have to have good processes in place. Technology is just a tool to help with those processes. There's a lot of great tools out there, including stuff that we don't sell, that might be a better fit for smaller businesses like Zoho and Infusionsoft, HubSpot, and the small business version called Essentials for Salesforce, which we do that last one. So here's a question for those of you in small businesses, because this is something often we don't do, and we don't do it early enough. Are you defining your processes? So A, they can be documented. Once you start to grow and you bring on some folks, how easy is it for you to transfer that knowledge to them? This is how we do what we do. This is what we found works. And by documenting and defining a process, you can also start to measure them. And if you measure them, then you can tweak them and find how we can improve our processes. And this is one of the things that CRM systems, through their reporting features, can help you to do. So really, technology is just about speeding things up. So if you have bad processes in your business and you speed them up with technology, you're just going to do bad things faster. Okay, what are some benefits of CRM? Now, this is a bit dated, but there was an IDC study reported in Business Wire in 2004. Businesses that successfully implemented CRM, that's the key word there, right? These were successful projects. Not all of them are. That stands for Customer Relationship Management. It's a database. It's a customer database that often has all kinds of other great features, like being able to remind you to do something, automatically send some marketing material, maybe integrate with other databases, do reporting. So customer relationship management. So those that had a successful implementation saw an increase in sales from 16 to 1,000%. That 1,000 makes you wonder, okay, what are the metrics on that? This is a better number here. 52% generated in ROI, that's return on investment, from between 51 and 500%, and 30% reported returns of 501%. Average savings were due to, and I love how this thing keeps popping up here, average savings were, only 7% of the savings were due to technology. So that tells you that it's not simply the technology that's the solution. Process enhancement resulted in 42% of the savings that a business saw. And the final item that is on there, which is being blocked right now, is an increase in productivity, saw a 51% increase in savings. I'm going to go through some of these really quick again because this is a short version of this presentation. Some of the benefits: marketing automation, such as campaign management, social media management. There's different tools out there that help you do that. Easier A/B testing, and that's simply when you say, okay, we're going to market this way, and now we're going to change something. Maybe we're going to change the color of the layout, and we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to see if we get a better return on that. We get better click-through or more calls coming based upon that mailer. That's all A and B testing is. And so these systems will have a facility where you can manage and track some of these things. Cleaner data. You have cleaner data if you make sure you have data validation and required fields. This is really important when you get to marketing, because if you got bad data, you're just wasting money in your marketing. Stuff goes to the wrong place or it doesn't go anywhere. Web to lead is great if you want to be able to capture somebody's email address straight from the web. Great example, one of my clients back in the gold mine days, I created a system for him where all he did was push a button and it would drop the current campaign and would add a different marketing campaign. Let's say he just closed a deal. They just bought a home, and it would drop the open loan client to the closed loan client, and now they're getting proper marketing material over the next year from them, and all he had to do was push a button. Other kinds of automation, this would be on the sales side of automation. Maybe he would push the button and it would change the status field from open loan to docs ordered, right? They've moved ahead, docs have been ordered. A fax would get sent to a third-party company with the client's address, so they'd get a box of cookies at their doorstep the next day. And again, all he did was push a button. That's the kind of things you can do to save you time. Say, what are the things I want to do to show love to my clients, but I sometimes forget or I don't have time to do it? Those are the kind of things that are great to build in your for automation. Reminders, team sales. This is good if you're working in a multi-user environment. If you have things that you're trying to see, what are the commissions? Managing splits. Software is great for doing that. Automatic follow-ups and automated process approval. If you have anyone else, yes.
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, if you go back to the other one,
I don't understand web to lead exactly.
Sure, okay, web delete is simply, have you ever gone to a website and they have a place where you can fill in forms with your name, your address, and your phone number? And what they're doing is they're capturing that data and it's getting pumped straight into their database. Now, they may have some automation in that database that says, as soon as I get that, I want to fire you a, hey, welcome aboard email, or get to know us email.
So we could do that too, then, is what you're saying.
Right, if you have the right tools in place, you could do that. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to go into a database. It could simply be an email that's sent to you. So maybe you're not at a place where you want to have a database yet because you haven't defined all your processes, or I don't know what the size of your organization is. But the key is you can get the information captured from the web. It's better when it gets into a database because then you do a lot of great things once you have it in a good CRM database system. Other benefits, sales automation with something like Ring Central, you can do click to dial so you can get through your numbers really quick. Other benefits, support automation. I'm going to skip my keyboard example for the sake of time. Catching things so they don't fall through the cracks. Sometimes those through the cracks are money you could be making. So these systems help you to catch things. Linking silos of information. This is more of an issue in a larger organization where marketing has their database, sales has their database, accounting has their database, and they're not matching. So this is one of the things, a good CRM implementation is going to try to connect with these other systems and reconcile these records, because later on that can create problems for you. And of course, analytics, that simply is a fancy term that means we're going to get information out of our system based on reports. So if you're capturing your data is clean, you can start getting good intelligence. For example, I built a report for one ultrasound company out in California. Their salespeople simply asked one question after they won or lost a deal. What is the number one reason you bought from us or decided not to buy from us? And that then was compared with the dollar value of that deal, and then reports could be run based upon the individual salesperson, the territory, or the whole company, looking at certain time periods, this quarter or this year, however you want to break it down. Here are the reasons we're losing because we're perceived to have bad customer support. Or here's the deals we're winning because people think our product is the best on the market. Now you're getting what we call business intelligence. Maybe you find out someone's got a perception that your product, is just not that good. Well, what's going on in that market? Is a competitor bad-mouthing you? So now you start to have some intelligence. You start finding out what's going on out there. Maybe you got some bad salespeople in that region.
5 minutes.
5, thank you. All right, when CRM goes wrong, here's some of the things that happen. Scope creep. This can happen a lot. This basically, you start a project, we say we want it to do X, and you start getting involved in it, and you as the client start discovering, hey, this technology can do all kinds of great stuff. I've got some great ideas now. And this is especially a problem when you've started off with, say, a fixed bid, and you say, we want X, and we're going to do this, and now you got all these other great ideas. And what a good consultant's going to tell you is no. We're going to try to finish what we agreed upon, but that's kind of hard. They come across as a bit like a Grinch, because now you have all these great ideas and you want to do this, but they've got to make their money too on the consulting side. Now, if you are in a relationship with a consultant that you trust, and I know a lot of consultants have given the industry a bad name, but if you have a trust relationship, you can embrace the scope creep. As long as you understand everyone's there for the win-win. And say, okay, maybe we can implement that. Let's see where that makes sense in our timeline. And we realize there's going to be some added cost. Maybe it's going to have us undo some work we already did because we're going to go with a different approach this time because of this new idea you had. As long as you understand that, and nobody's out trying to shake anybody else down, you can manage the scope creep and maybe even embrace it. There's actually some implementation methodologies that try to embrace that when it happens in larger enterprise implementations. Let's see here. Again, I won't give you my example from I had one client, we had terrible scope creep, and they still love me. And it was actually one of my most lucrative clients, and it was a single user system. They did debutante balls in California for a bunch of very rich people, and we got in, and we thought what we needed was this, X. Halfway through, it would have been better if I never would have started on that platform. But I didn't know going in, but their requirements changed along the way, but they were okay. Along the way I explained, this is why we're going to do it this way, because we thought we were going to do this. Should we back up or should we keep going ahead? And we worked together, we figured out what was the best strategy in that situation. Trying to do more in-house than you should. I can tell you horror stories of people that have destroyed their data because they didn't let people who were trained actually build the system. Insufficient budget. This is a big one. All of us are very cost conscious, But if you don't invest properly, you're not going to have a tool that's too useful for you, especially in having good interfaces and also investing in proper training. It's better for you to have a smaller vision and have sufficient investment and have a tool you can use, rather than throwing a bunch of money at something that's halfway done. Often you see a lot of CRM projects fail or postpone because of this. And again, I could give you lots of stories. Doing it right. First of all, when it comes to budget, just double your estimate of what it's going to take for the customization and the implementation and the testing. And I think that's, for any size business, that will apply. Also, factor in about 10% of your budget for training. Don't say, oh, I'll figure it out, or they're going to use it and they're going to learn how to use it because I'm going to tell them to. That's a bad sign if you're a manager. How many of folks know folks, especially in government or education, where they hate the systems they're working on, and no one ever trained them? My sister was in that situation for years. Except that discovery takes time. Discovery is the first phase. When you bring a consultant in, they need to learn how you do your business. Every business is different. And they can't read your mind, so that takes some time. That's part of what you have to budget for. If you're a larger organization, realize you may have some staff over time, or you have to have some lower productivity goals while you're making this big change. That's something to factor in. Also, you may have a dip in productivity, or also you may have opportunity costs. Like, while we're working on this, we may not hit some of the same deal sizes that we normally do because we're distracted. You have to factor that in when you're budgeting. What can help is if you break features and also the project into prioritized phases, so you don't do a big bang all at once. Journey of technology, I'm going to try to squeeze this in really quick. If you can follow this will save you so much time and frustration over the career of your business and how you go about doing technology. This is simply a cyclical, ordered approach to doing CRM or any technology project, for that matter. All right, first of all, you define what your goals are. Know what the business goals you have for wanting to involve technology in your business. For example, I want to see a 10% increase in sales productivity. Or I want to reduce my support calls by 10%. Or I want to qualify my leads 20% faster. And then have a plan how you're going to measure these things. Next, your focus should be users. And I know a lot of us here are small businesses, so that's going to be mostly us, right? But if you have any staff, you need to focus on them. Users who do not feel they're involved and think they have technology that's being pushed on them, very often will push back and sometimes can sabotage a project because they're afraid, A, their job is getting redefined or getting defined out of existence. They're worried about that. Or their job is being made harder and you don't care about them. So as soon as you define your goals for management, the next step needs to be a bottom-up build, shadowing users, finding out what they need. What can we do to make your job easier? You're looking at things like, what kind of interface do we want to give you? What kind of things can we do to automate so you can get more done in less time? Make the users, and this includes different departments in a larger organization, make them part of the implementation team so they feel valued. Next, after you know what your user needs are, not just what management needs, but what the users need to do their job, now you focus on processes. What processes do we need to build so that our users can be more successful, get things done in a speedier way? What can be improved? What processes can be eliminated? Sometimes there's legacy processes in an organization, and people do it because they were taught to do that and nobody knows why they do it, and the reason for doing it isn't there anymore. So again, I mentioned automating bad processes. You'll just do bad things faster. Define processes as they should be, not as they are now. You're keeping in mind that there may be some technological tools out there that will help you do things that you can't envision right now. Business process analysis is a very useful aspect of this. It's actually become a full-fledged industry on its own in the past, I'd say, 10 years. It's really come to the fore. And again, it's just the emphasis is on business process, and that's going to be part of your process building. There are professional business process analysts that you can hire out there. There are certifications for that field as well now. So for example, as your company grows, maybe you should be reorganizing your sales organization. Maybe you want to have dedicated qualifiers. Their whole job is to qualify your leads, and once they're qualified, they hand them off to a sales rep. Or maybe you want to have an account desk if you've got some really important deals you're working on. You have somebody, that's their whole focus, is that one account. And always looking at ways to streamline. Now, once you've got your goals, you see what your users need, you define your processes, only now do you start looking at technology. Only now do you start looking at the software. Because now you know what your needs are. There's a lot of different software out there. They're great packages, but they are all different. Some things will do things better than others. Now you know what needs to be done. This will help in your selection process. And once you know what software you're going with, now you know what your infrastructure needs are, whether you need certain hardware or a certain amount of bandwidth with your internet connection. So you see how all this, if you do it in the right way, it simplifies the next step. And then you never forget training. Make sure users, whether that's you or other folks, you've invested, got some training so you get more benefit out the bat. The more money that you spent on the customization side of the software, the less you're going to have to do on training. Right? If you have a nice clean interface, like I did for that one broker, instead of having to even change a line in the database, he just pushed a button and it would advance the deal to the next stage. And then measure your results. Remember in the beginning of goals, we talked about figuring out how we're going to measure those? At the end of this cycle, you're going to measure your results and you're going to see, okay, what do we need to do better next time? Are we getting our value out of this system? And this whole cycle starts over again. This might be a 5-year cycle, depends on your business, but 5 years is kind of typical. So we're checking for our return on investment, and then we do it again. And each time we do it, hopefully we do it better the next time. Last note, I know I'm running a little over time here. Just because something can be automated doesn't mean it should be. There's a great story. So I taught philosophy for several years, and one of my favorite stories from Phaedrus is it's one of Plato's works. Socrates is telling the story about King Thamus, who is approached by the god Thoth, who wants to bless King Thamus. And so he takes him up to his palace. He says, let me show you all these great technologies. I'll let you have something for mankind. Shows him all these wonders. And then he says, oh, but what about this one? Writing. I will give you Egyptians writing. And the Egyptians are known for their writing, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, with this technology, you will be able to remember more than you ever could before. But King Thamus was very wise. And he thought about it. And he said, actually, the opposite will happen. If we have writing, we'll be able to record more information. But because we no longer have to remember the information that's recorded, our memories will get weaker. Mm-hmm. Some great wisdom that applies to business today. Just because something can be automated doesn't mean it should be. Is it going to take you away or change the way you view your clients? Is it going to take you away from them on a relationship level? My brother-in-law works for Junior Achievement. And they came to him and said, hey, we've got this great system that's going to automate your fundraising for you. And he said, I don't want it. I won't use it. Because for him, it was very important that he have quality time on the phone, not only with the business owners that he would raise money from, but also with the gatekeepers, right, the secretaries. Understand them, keep a relationship going with them. And he was afraid that automation, while it might help you hit some numbers, it's going to really cripple him where it really counted, which was the relationship. And really, when we're in business, that's what it's all about, right, is relationships. So we want to keep this top of mind as we're involving ourselves in technology. Don't let it get in the way of relationships, because that's what we should be about. Any questions? All right, if you want more information, you can check us out, www.rageandsanity.com. Thank you.